West Ham have been doing an awful lot to try to dispel any rumours or talk of Tim Steidtens departing the club this summer. Of course, we've seen it quite recently that he's been heavily linked to a move to Liverpool. When I say heavily linked, I mean, it's purely paper talk, really. Tim Steidtens himself sort of kind of commented on it. It wasn't ideal. I did a video on it a little while ago, some of his comments that came back. But ultimately, that's all it is at the moment. It's just talk. It's nothing. Liverpool haven't formally approached West Ham. But the club have absolutely made their feelings known regarding Steidtens. He is highly regarded. There's absolutely no two ways about it. West Ham wouldn't be behaving in this way if they didn't want to keep the man, our sort of technical director, isn't he, at the club. Because, well, for one, they've already come out publicly. When I say publicly, they've leaked their views out to various sort of channels, etc. Basically saying that they've got no intention of letting Tim go. In fact, their actual words were from, I believe, the top of the club. The man at the very top was that the club are optimistic of keeping Tim Steidtens at West Ham. And of course, we also approached ex-WHU employee, of course, regarding what he felt on this. It's on the website. You go and have a little check it out, thewesthamway.com. And X provided a bit of his view on the situation. And his view basically was it is purely speculation. That you know, there's been no approach from Liverpool at all for Tim Steidtens. And as far as the club concerned, they're optimistic in keeping it. And really, basically, that's all it is. It's just talk. And the club are firmly behind Tim Steidtens. Now, that's quite interesting when you consider another person that's future is in doubt, isn't it? But what I want to talk about today is one big step that the club have made now in terms of also retaining Steidtens for the long term is appointing his brother. So Moritz Steidtens has now joined the club. He is regarded, I think he's going to be coming in as a sort of scout, working with the scouting network with the teams. He'll be working under his brother. I mean, look, I don't know enough of Tim Steidtens, okay? Like, I know he gets this kind of sort of hero approach at West Ham, doesn't he? I think we've all got, you know, he got made a bit of a name for himself with these pictures on his private jet, bringing players over in the summer. Look, I've got no problem with that. And look, he's highly regarded. We know that and a lot of top clubs after him. The fact he's been linked with Liverpool kind of shows how well he's seen across in terms of the football world, you know. So I've got no real problem with that at all. So the fact is that we're looking to retain him. That's great. I've got, you know, I think it's good news. And I think it's a clear indication. Like I've said, the club have really worked hard here to try and make it very clear that Steidtens here for the long term. He's going nowhere. There's this project, all that kind of stuff. And as I say, the appointment of his brother, Moritz, is something that I think just highlights that even further, doesn't it? It just kind of signifies that they really do want to retain Tim Steidtens at the club, and that's absolutely fine. But I'll tell you what it does. It also then highlights how the club are not doing an awful lot to dispel the rumours that David Moyes obviously positions under threat. They're obviously going... Moyes is not getting any of this, is he? Any kind of support from the club. They're not sort of trying to dispel any talk that he could be on his way. I'm not saying that David Moyes is on his way. My actual feeling is that he's not anytime soon. I don't think he'll be sacked this season unless, of course, we go on a horrendous run. At the moment, we're hearing this silly 3-game thing again with David Moyes, which I really hate. I absolutely hate it. It shows a total lack of leadership, doesn't it? And decision-making at this football club. It really does. I mean, look, let's just forget how we feel about David Moyes. However you feel, however I feel, whatever, whether you want to retain him, whether you think he should be given longer, whatever it may be, right? Just park that for a minute. If the club want to keep David Moyes, then offer him a new contract. If you don't want to keep him, or, you know, make it very clear you want to keep him for long term, do that. If you don't want to keep him, then make it very clear and get rid of him at the end. I wish they would just make a decision on something, this football club. I wish they'd just stop this constant delay and dilly-dallying, because they do this silly, well, David Moyes has got 3 games or 2 games or 3 or 4 games to save his job. They keep doing this. We've had it numerous times, not only with Moyes, with other managers as well. But it's just a constant... because the thing is, the reality is, are West Ham going to lose their next 3 games? We could, but it's probably unlikely. You're probably going to get a draw or a win somewhere in there at some stage. And it's almost like the second they do that, go, oh, let's see, he's turning it around now. And you're like, well, hang on. So, and then all of a sudden we lose another game. But yeah, but he drew that one. Honestly, I find it really frustrating, and why they can't just start making some decisions about this club and where it's going. But I'll tell you what, when you look at the Tim Steidtens situation, it does kind of make you feel, well, he's not getting that. Do you know what I mean? They're not jumping to his defence here, are they? They're not doing it. The club are doing an awful lot at the moment, it appears, to try and keep Steidtens happy, keep him at the club. I mean, my gut feeling is if Tim Steidtens' brothers join in, this is just my view, then it's unlikely, isn't it, that he's going to be departing anytime soon? Because it's unlikely you're going to be telling your brother, yeah, come and work for me. By the way, I'm probably going to be off in a month or so. I doubt that's going to be the case. So, but it's certainly an interesting a bit of news, and hopefully it does mean that our sort of technical director now is going to be here for the longer term, rather, because we don't want to be losing our technical director one season, do we? It's not a good look for the football club. We want to be seen as a club that's trying to go in the right direction, and this would be a big step backwards. So I am pleased with it. I just wish that the club, though, had some sort of direction when it came to who was going to be in charge. The problem is with this football club, it's just the indecisions, isn't it? When it comes to certain things, we're just so indecisive. We really do take far too much time dilly-dallying and pondering, and it is really frustrating. And it just doesn't help. The January transfer window is a prime example of that. Our just constant lack of decision-making and being on the front foot and trying to make those calls and getting things right. We're just not good at it. And we're going down the same path, it appears, with David Moyes, where the speculation is just all the time, and it just doesn't help things. If you're not going to keep him, then just make it very clear. You know what I mean? Just do make something happen. Don't just keep sitting on the fence and doing nothing. It really, I find it so frustrating. But we don't, the David Moyes situation, though, is just going to rumble, isn't it? It's just going to be one of those subjects that's going to keep going on and on and on. Until either one way or the other, either he signs a contract and gets given this deal that apparently there have been talks over, or they're going to let him go. But it doesn't help. I don't think it helps, this constant, because I don't, as fans, we don't know. The players, they don't really know. No one knows what's going on. It's just this constant, question mark hanging all the time. And it's really frustrating. I mean, look, I'm not saying at the moment, the way things are, by the way, offer David Moyes a contract if you want to keep him now. I would find that to be really foolish, because we're on a really, really poor run of form, and we've been poor for quite some time, and the fans are exhausted. You can feel that the relationship actually feels between the manager and the fan base now is becoming quite fractured, because of some of the comments that seem to be coming back. I mean, look, we've seen it in the crowd the other day. Obviously, after the Forest game, the Moyes out banner was out again. Fans are annoyed. I mean, my view on it is it's up to, look, fans are entitled to do what they want to do at the end of the day. Pay money for these tickets. It's up to them, of course, and they're right to make their feelings very clear. The fans are unhappy. David Moyes doesn't help himself, in my opinion. He really doesn't when it comes to talking. I wish for once he just showed some humility and just started holding his hands up and go, do you know what? We've been absolute crap since the turn of the year. I'm going to try and put it right. The fans are right to be really annoyed. We've been really poor. We were supposed to be challenging the top 5, top 6 this season. That's where we started. We had on a good run of form. We were on 36 points. We were a couple of points off 5th, and we're looking pretty good. We're now, 10, 12 points, wherever we are now, miles off. It's not good enough. It's been a real collapse. I wish David Moyes would just show that. He always seems to try and turn it back on the fans a little bit. This constant reminders of, everything we should be happy about. We never had it so good and all that. It just doesn't do him any favours. I talked about it recently, his detachment from what's actually going on. And it really is frustrating with him. He really doesn't do himself any favours when it comes to West Ham fans, and you just feel now that relationship's becoming fractured again. It's tough. It's not been a great relationship for quite some time. I know obviously we had the cup success last year, but even then, if you recall, it was like the relationship with Moyes wasn't great at that point because of the season we just endured. We nearly went down. It wasn't a good season. This was a season for him to redeem himself, and let's be honest, it started well enough. Results-wise was good. Obviously, performances were a little bit questionable, but the results were right. But, it feels now like it feels like he's running out of road a little bit now, David Moyes. Do you know what I mean? He's running out of excuses. And you get that feeling when he's talking in the press conferences, he's kind of being quite nasty in a way back to West Ham fans a little bit. Well, they've had to win. They want players. He said the other day, you want the manager, after they've had managers before to play well, they don't win like I do. We haven't won all year, David. Do you know what I mean? We've literally not won I think we scored 1 goal in open play this year, something like that. It's been horrendous. Hold your hands up. Say this. Yeah, you're right. Fans should be absolutely furious. This is not good enough. That was shocking. You know, it's a deluded view, and I hate that word delusion, but it is like that. And and as I say, it's either he's either detached from reality or he's being very arrogant about how he's talking, but it's not good. And you know, it's not a decent position to be. He's putting himself in at the moment with the fans. But the one thing is for sure, though, from what the news is today, the club are back in Steidtens 100%. But where does that leave David Moyes? It's so hard to say, isn't it? It really is. But I hate this free-game rule. I'd rather them just say, right, this is what my point is. I'd rather the club just come out and say, David Moyes is not going to lose his job this season. We're going to give him the rest of the season. We're going to give him the Europa League to turn this around. I'd rather them just come out and say that, because at least then we know where we stand. Rather than just leaking out this silly, oh, he's got a couple more games to sort it out. We don't know. What does that mean? So, sorry, he loses to Brentford, then gets a point in the next game, and then that's all right, is it? And he stays the rest of the season. What's the point? It really is frustrating. And you know for a fact that what happens there also as well, they say, well, it's a free game rule. So what happens if he loses those 3 games? Do they sack him? Okay, well, then what do we do? Do they have a manager lined up? I doubt it. You know what I mean? This is West Ham. I doubt it. It really is. It really is frustrating the way it's being handled, this whole Moyes thing. I wish they would just be a bit more decisive of what they want to do with him as a manager. I mean, we're going to get an update from XWH employee on it. We'll put more of a video this week about it. I don't want to keep doing videos over Moyes over and over again. Of course, it's the sort of hot topic at the moment. Hence why I'm trying to lean it a little bit more towards the Tim Steidtens stuff, because I actually think that is big news. It's big news in terms of how the club are seeing Steidtens, and the fact is that his brother has joined is probably a good sign for West Ham. As I say, at the moment, what we understand it is that the club are confident, the club are optimistic of keeping Steidtens. That the news of the Liverpool stuff is seen at the moment as it is what it is, just talk. And as I say, the top brass is that they believe it to be optimistic he'll be here next season. And I just think that at the higher end of his brother is a good sign. But where it leaves David Moyes, then God only knows.